Good morning, I'm Angelo Castro III.
I'm Angela and we are the Castros.
Happy Thursday to all our viewers. And of course, what's for brunch? Well, of course, favorite ni Angel.
Pansit.
Pansit with, anong tawag dyan?
Lechon kawali.
Lechon kawali and pandesal. Perfect
Sarap.
combination for a cool and cold morning. Medyo the weather is still holding up, pero we're expecting a bagyo.
Yes. Tomorrow.
Tomorrow ba?
if
Tomorrow?
I'm not
Tuloy ba?
mistaken. Pero lalabas din siya kaagad sa Philippine Area of Responsibility. Pero may mga pag-ulan pa rin dahil nga dito sa habagat.
Okay.
Diba? Pero we're back. Regular programming na tayo.
Oh,
ngayon,
yesterday
ano?
kasi, for those who didn't join us yesterday, was a debate of Trump versus Harris, and we had a post-debate analysis coverage with sila Richard Haydarian. And today, back to our countdown naman.
Sa mga nakamiss ng ating countdown today, kayo na po, mag-message na kayo sa amin, di ba? Kung ano ba yung magiging number one natin dito sa countdown.
Okay, madami pa tayong pag-uusapan, so we're serving you news in the countdown.
All that before your second cup of coffee, this is Brunch.
Let's kick off our countdown with the 2024 World Risk Report. The Philippines topped the list of countries at risk of natural disasters. According to the study, the country has a score of 46.71, which is very high. The report cited at least 22 tropical cyclones during the COVID-19 pandemic period. During that time, psychosocial and economic stress of Filipinos intensified. This is the third consecutive year that the Philippines registered the highest world risk index. So yun, so based sa report, this was taken during the pandemic. And then as you were mentioning kanina, Angel, na 'di ba ano yung mga categories of determining yung world risk? There is susceptibility, 'di ba?
Adaptability, 'di ba? Kaya nga sinasabi rin ni DOST Secretary Nato Solidum, kahit no matter how we improve yung ating mga warning system, kung may mga tao pa rin na tumitira sa mga flood-prone areas, ay mahirap pa rin, di ba? Mahirap pa rin yun na maayos. Tapos halimbawa naman yung sa mga earthquake, di ba? Kailangan naman din ma-strengthen yung mga buildings.
Tsaka you have to remember we also belong to the Pacific Ring of Fire, di ba? So which is connected to Japan and several other Asian countries that will be prone to even minor earthquakes. So we've had in the recent 10 years of volcanic eruptions of several volcanoes, Kanlaon, Mayon, Taal, and then we have over 20 to 22 storm typhoons a year. Then we have drought, we have El Nino, extreme heat temperatures, di ba? Archipelagic tayo in nature.
Exactly.
So it's really going to be hard to manage disasters, but ika nga sabi nila, if you have a good plan naman, you can at least lessen the impact of disaster sa atin.
Hirap kasi talaga.
So yun,
Kaya nga,
susceptibility is meaning...
Hindi ko masyado...
susceptibility means yung how susceptible or how open you are to disasters.
Yes.
Adaptability is how quick can we respond, how quick can we develop measures to counteract these disasters.
Kasi ang hirap talaga, actually kasama nga din daw sa sinasabi, di ba dito dun sa report, ay yung nung last year din, yung sa may pandemic din natin.
Yes.
Dahil di ba, during the pandemic, so we're all experiencing pandemic. Tapos, 20 bagyo pa in a year na meron din tayo. Tapos naalala mo during the pandemic in 2020, meron tayong bagyo na napakalakas. December ba yun?
Nagbagsakan yung puno doon. I remember that, nagbagsakan yung puno.
Kaya nakasama din doon aside doon sa mga nabanggit mo kanina na mga influencing factors, ay of course yung mental health din. Kasi napakaraming mga disaster na kumbaga na-experience ng Pilipinas at nakasama na rin yung problema sa yung mental health natin dahil syempre nakaka-depress din yun di ba? At nakaka-stress. Kaya bang gagawin natin?
Anyway, before we move on, one comment lang sa viewer from sa Saori Kimura, the real high risk daw is a corrupt politician.
Pwede rin.
Kasi kung walang corrupt politician, edi perfect na sana ang disaster plan natin.
Okay, let's continue with our countdown. Ranking 9th is the Commission on Elections, or Comelec. They actually postponed the filing of Certificate of Candidacy for the Bangsamoro parliamentary elections. This is after the Supreme Court declared that Sulu is not part of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao o BARM. Instead of October 1 to 8, the filing of COC in BARM will now take place from November 4 to 9. Comelec Chairman George Garcia ensured the new schedule of filing of COC will not delay the elections in BARM come May.
Ang sinasabi lang naman po ng ating kataas-taasang hukuman ay hindi kasama ang Sulu and therefore maaari maapektuhan yung Bangsamoro parliamentary election. Pwede na namin pasimulan kaagad ang printing ng national and local elections ballots and then ihuhuli na lang ng konti yung balota ng Bangsamoro.
Sabi nga nung mga
delayed lang naman.
Delayed,
Oo.
pero sabi nga nung mga stakeholders, kasi yung desisyon na yan, syempre kaakibat niyan yung paghihiwalay ng Korte Suprema sa Sulu, na hindi kasama sa BARM. Yung mga stakeholders are actually, sabi nila, we respect yung desisyon ng Supreme Court na yan di ba? But still, sabi nila, syempre nalulungkot sila at they also, kumbaga, iniisip din nila yung danger nung possibility of danger nga nung ganitong desisyon dahil ihiwalay nga yung Sulu. For context lang, ang Sulu kasi is the birthplace ng MNLF na ang alam naman natin dito sa BARM, yung sa Bangsamoro Organic Law, yung kumakatawan niyan is yung sa MILF, di ba? Ang may seat of the table dyan ay MILF.
O kaya nga, so you cannot include the MNLF with the MILF. Kaya siguro hiniwalay ng Korte Suprema.
Oo.
Di ba? Hindi pwedeng ipagsama yan. Anyway, napansin ko si Chairman George, papayat ng papayat. Nasa-stress ba si Chairman sa elections?
Alright, from one commission, let's go to another commission.
Next in our countdown, the Commission on the Population and Development says teenagers are engaging in monthsary sex. Now, this refers to a sexual activity which serves as a monthly gift to their partners. The CPD says they resort to this since they don't have something material to give. The agency called on parents. The parents should communicate with their children about sex and protection.
Let's talk more about that, the so-called monthsary sex among teenagers.
We have with us CPD Executive Director Lolito Tacardon on the line. Magandang umaga, Director.
Magandang umaga po sa inyo at sa inyong mga tagapakinig po.
Yes, all right. Let's get right to it. Now, do you have data on the monthsary sex? And gaano po kaseryoso itong issue? It's because I'm sure it's happening now, pero parang simulat sa pulpo nung 70s or 80s, parang nangyayari na rin po yung mga ganitong acts. At regardless daw, sabi nila, hindi lang daw sa monthsary, may mga times on regular days.
Yeah, let me clarify yung namin yung information that our staff was able to disseminate during the previous interviews in the media. Yung reference namin for such behavior actually came from mga focus group discussions, no? So there's really no mga quantitative study or figures indicating yung prevalence or incidence of that behavior. But what we can share is indeed sometimes sa mga sexual behavior of young people, because of now being becoming more liberated, one of the parang tinitignan natin is the expression of love via sex, at nangyayari yung mga ganong behavior, because sometimes yung mga young people equates yung love nila into sex as a manifestation. Pero as to the data, I think it's just one of the shared experience of respondents during mga focus group discussions, and we cannot really generalize po talaga.
Yeah, pero Director, so para at least medyong klaro na rin po sa akin, so ang nangyayari po sa atin is, in other words, is aside from sex being an act of love long ago, nagiging form of a gift already. So ganun po ang direksyon po ng study, na yun ang response po ng mga tao sa focus group, regalo, hindi dahil it's a normal act of love for them.
It's was siguro ano lang din, the term na regalo is has a different connotation kasi. Siguro there are incidences na parang just to show them the gratitude or they want to express
Yes.
something to their partners, they engage into sexual activities, that's siguro something na kasi when we say regalo, it's the
Yeah.
of of or your love or a certain feeling dun sa
Yeah.
sa ano na yon, no? So and that's one of the expression of eto nga yung tinatawag nating somehow love ng mga kabataan sa ngayon.
Doon po sa mga focus studies na ginawa po na nabanggit po ninyo, mga ilang taon po ba itong nakikita natin na supposedly doing this monthly sex as a gift?
Yun din po, since the focus group discussion siya, yun nga lang ang limitation po talaga niya. It's really not quantified, and we don't have data on the characteristics of of the respondents because hindi kami nakagawa ng mga statistical mga inferences. That's why we'd like to qualify and clarify na these are just anecdotal evidences shared by some young people, so we don't really know in terms of the prevalence or incidence of this kind of behavior among young people.
Do you think ito po bang itong ongoing na trend na sinasabi nga po monthly sex ay also contribute or as a contributing factor din po doon sa mga maraming kabataan natin po ngayon na nagkakaroon ng early pregnancy?
Definitely po, kasi teenage pregnancy is really a complex issue actually, So maraming mga factors po yan. Isa lang po yung mga behavioral factors. We also have mga institutional and structural factors. But based doon sa mga studies that we so far nagawa na rin namin, and even based doon sa mga further studies of literature na ginawa po natin, talagang there's a changing behavior among young people, and in fact we consider this as a gender issue sa yung ganyang niyan, because sometimes there are instances kasi that they use etong as I mentioned nga yung love as they equate it with the sex that sometimes ni-impose or nire-require ng isang partner to express them if indeed they love them or talagang kung sila, so and at the end, lalo na sa mga girls naman, at then the girls just sa kanila, sometimes their lack to refuse and their lack of the skill to negotiate, doon sila nag-give in. So lalo na if the relationship is something abusive, or kasi nakita rin natin for example, what we have data to show you is yung civil registry and vital statistics natin, nakita natin that many of the registered live births among those who were born from 10 to 14 na mga kabataan, ang mga tatay noon, ang mga tatay ng mga batang yon ay actually older than the mother. So
Okay.
we're looking at a relationship where there's really a tendency na merong abusive relationship, because syempre kung mas matanda ka, meron kang somehow may imbalance in the power.
Yes.
In terms of decision making, and yung mga bata is syempre at the receiving end, so they just succumb to siguro pressure from their partners, including having to perform such a sexual act.
Yes.
So, but of course, kailangan talaga ding pag-aralan din yan to see yung magnitude and prevalence of this kind of behaviors.
Yes, the Director, you mentioned about yung behaviors, shift in behaviors of both the male and the female partner alike. Do you see also yung impact ng social media and the access of these children to social media, syempre nakalink din tayo sa mga Western countries. So, do you think na may epekto to sa atin? And should we be stricter? Should the government be stricter about children using social media?
Yes, definitely meron siyang impact, both positive and negative actually, no? Because ang function of social media is in terms of access to relevant information. So since mas na-open, hindi lang social media but other online platforms
Right.
actually, mas naging open yung yung information highway for young people to access. And the problem is there's a lack of guidance in terms of processing this information. And the ones na expected to help them sana are the parents and the teachers. But because of lack of parental guidance, perhaps, medyo medyo nakukulangan yung pag-process ng bata ng information. And of course, within the dynamics of an adolescent na nakikita natin, nagseset siya ng identity, nagkakaroon siya mga changes
Right.
sa kanyang bodily structure.
Alright, with that, maraming salamat.
Nagko-complicate.
Ay, go ahead po.
Kaya, yun lang, it is really a complicated talaga dun sa the dynamics and emotion nung dun sa bata because adolescence really is where may mga confusion na nangyayari. So, na-assimilate lahat yun. It's really a complex phenomenon at the young people, yung sexual behaviors.
Alright, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras. That was CPD Executive Director Lolito Tacardon. Yun. And I think also yung yung growing number of yung accessibility sa pornographic materials. I think that also contribute dun sa incident ng
And I also saw, kasi that's why I asked the question, I saw an article about the link of more conservative countries like the Philippines or Japan to Western countries, and therefore yung younger kids, they see how Westerners are behaving, di ba? So they're thinking na in society, in our society, that should be the norm also. The adaptation of Western culture into your lifestyle. Na you should not do that kasi iba-iba po tayong kultura, iba-iba tayo ng behaviors. As Filipinos, iba ang Western, iba ang European, di ba?
Kaya ang importante din yung sinasabi nila na ipasa yung adolescent prevention bill. And
Ano yun?
ito yung yung bibigyan ng pagkakataon yung mga bata na mapag-aral yung sa sex education, and of course yung sa side naman ng mga magulang is to be open about talking about sex sa kanilang mga anak. Para alam nila kung ano yung tama o mali.
You could explain the pros and cons
Pros
of
and
early sexual
Yes.
activity at a young age, and maybe in the meantime,
Parang tama na daw yung mga yung bees and yung mga
birds and the bees.
Birds
Yeah,
and
you should
the
tell
bees.
them so they know, and then maybe you can state your case now why you shouldn't engage in it too early.
Yes.
And be more productive in other
Yes.
things, like you have sports,
Totoo.
you have
At
other
saka,
things.
Yung yung paalala sa kanila yung consent, 'di ba? Yung mga ganong aspeto. But okay, sige, marami pa tayong pag-uusapan coming up. Saan nga ba dapat i-detain si Alice Guo? Government agencies are arguing over the custody of the dismissed mayor and alleged Chinese citizen.
And more alleged victims of Apollo Quiboloy have come out saying the pastor abused them.
Ano pala dapat Where should Alice go?
Sabi kasi ni...
Uy, joke. Makinig ka kasi.
Narinig ko.
Where should Alice go? Ito naman, no? Ano yung sabi mo? Ano, bilis.
Natawa lang ako.
Kailangan matawa ka kasi joke ko yun eh.
Okay, sige na. Umalis na nga tayo bago ako mapikon.
We are just getting started, mga kapatid. More of our top 10 news when Brunch returns. Keep it here on One News. Good morning. You're still watching Brunch here on One News. Happy Thursday po. Ay, isang tumbling na lang.
Friday na.
Happy weekend.
Happy weekend na.
Bawi tayo sa mga bate, Ginuulit mo lang yung sinasabi ko. bawi tayo sa mga bati natin kasi tagal natin sila hindi nabate. Si Gary Co, Ronald Maxte, Renato Nieto, Oscar N, Mark Santiago, si Tita Daisy, Tito Naldi, of course, si Alex Fuentes, si Ralph Domingo.
Uy, ito naman si Junk sa Sambayon. Morning po, I'm watching here in Coronadal.
Wow, layo.
Sokot, wow, thank you po. Gabby Romero, good morning, power couple daw. Nax.
Sino pa?
Ayun.
Si Mina Benales.
Si
diba?
Paul, Mina Beñales, ito si Paul Adrian Samarita watching daw from Tabi-Tabi.
Gary Field, don't forget.
Si
Tita Esther Abaya.
Si kumparing James Patrick Cancho, good morning daw. And si Merabad, good morning. And of course, happy birthday kay Mio.
Oh, birthday ni Mio. Happy
nagulat
birthday.
ka pa. Birthday ng anak natin, nagulat. Alright, madami pang
Sige.
uusapan. Let's go!
Nag-iinit sa 7th spot. Hundreds of residents near Kanlaon volcano have started evacuating from their homes. Experts warned that Kanlaon volcano in Negros Island might possibly erupt soon. About 400 residents of villages within the 4 kilometers of the volcano sought temporary shelters while it spurts harmful gases. Aside from this, the area was also rocked by 337 volcanic quakes for the past 24 hours. Nakataba yung ano natin
Yan ang
dyan,
binabanggit ko
local
kanina.
government units. O
Yan ang
bakit?
binabanggit ko kanina na sa very active yung volcano belt natin.
Yes.
Mayon, Taal, Kanlaon, di ba? So we're keeping an eye down on other. I see Director Bacolco, remember saying that there are other volcanoes that they're looking at that could possibly erupt pero under mini-monitor pa lang nila.
Yeah. So, importante yan, yung preemptive evacuations na gawin doon sa mga residente nearby para kung sakaling pumutok nga, ay walang, di ba, maiwasan natin magkaroon ng mga casualty.
Yeah.
And hopefully, we can talk to someone from the government there, local government sa Kanlaon, para makamusta din natin yung mga kababayan natin dyan. But for the meantime, let's continue with our countdown.
Moving over to our 6th spot, the number of active Mpox cases in the country climbs to 15. This comes after one more patient tested positive for the virus. Of the 15 cases, 11 are from Metro Manila, 3 in Calabarzon, and 1 in Cagayan Valley. Now, all of them tested positive for clade 2, which is a milder form of the Mpox virus.
Ngayon, pataas ang pataas.
Taas ang
Pero
pataas.
yan kasi, active silang
Clade 2 to,
nagtetest. Oo. Active sila, ang DOH na nagtetest sa different areas of the Philippines.
Oo.
Kaya tumataas, asahan natin talaga na tumataas yung bilang dahil alam naman natin na meron na talagang confirmed na yung local transmission sa atin. And the last time that we talked about this, I remember, if I can remember it correctly, sabi nila medyo kulang na yung kanilang nauubos na yung testing kits nila, so they need to buy testing kits pa. Okay?
Pero naman, in the absence of testing kits, there's a way naman to check visually, di ba?
Oh, that's why ang number one ngayon sa yung frontline nila ngayon sa aside from infectious disease doctors, yung mga derma, because they can check
Yes.
yung itsura pa lang alam na nila yan kung Mpox yan or not.
That's right, that's right.
All right, let's continue with our countdown. Still sizzling at the 5th spot is Vice President Sara Duterte. The Vice President has addressed rumors of impending impeachment case against her. In an interview video released by her office, VP Sara accused ACT Teachers Party List Representative Franz Castro of being at the center of impeachment talks. Castro has categorically denied this claim. VP Sara also refuted reports of misusing any confidential funds.
Walang misuse ng confidential funds, walang misuse ng funds ng Department of Education. Kaya ngayon, ay pinipilit nilang gawan ng basihan yung mga sinasabi nila na impeachment sa akin.
VP Sara also insisted that her office can still operate without any funding. This as talks of defunding the office of the Vice President surfaced after she clashed with lawmakers in a budget hearing.
Handa ako sa Office of the Vice President na magtrabaho kahit walang budget. Maliit lang yung opisina namin, maliit lang yung operations namin, kaya kayang-kaya namin na magtrabaho kahit walang budget.
Parang di naman okay din naman ma-defund, not for anything else ang Office of the Vice President. That you have to remember, there are people working.
Sabi naman ng
there,
several congressmen
yan.
and even si Senator Coco Pimentel that at least they're not for zero budget or yung 1 peso budget, but sabi nila at the very least they will give the Office of the Vice President, the OVP, enough just to perform its mandate. Yun, at least yung sweldo, operating expenses, diba? Pero yung mga redundancy budget na redundant with yung DSWD budget, DOH, parang yun tatanggalin na lang daw, ilalagay na lang sa agency na yun.
Importante naman dyan sige, kung di ka attend ng budget deliberation ng,
na lang, bare minimum
ng opisina mo, huwag mong kakalimutan dahil ongoing pa rin yung investigasyon dun sa mga supposedly misuse na nangyari ng mga confidential fund sa Education Department. And of course, we are going to demand accountability on that. But for the meantime, countdown ulit.
Coming in at the top 4 with less than 2 months to go before the U.S. election, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump met for the first time on the presidential debate stage. Let's take a look at the recap.
U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump faced off in a debate. The two presidential aspirants engaged in a heated exchange from the get-go. As expected, the economy was front and center.
I imagine and have actually a plan to build what I call an opportunity economy. Because here's the thing. We know that we have a shortage of homes and housing, and the cost of housing is too expensive for far too many people.
Look, we've had a terrible economy because inflation which is really known as a country buster. It breaks up countries. We have inflation like very few people have ever seen before, probably the worst in our nation's history.
They also sparred on abortion. Harris is an advocate of reproductive rights, while Trump took credit for overturning the federal protection for abortion rights.
For 52 years, they've been trying to get Roe v. Wade into the states. And through the genius and heart and strength of 6 Supreme Court justices, we were able to do that. Now, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe strongly in it. Ronald Reagan did also.
The majority of Americans believe in a woman's right to make decisions about her own body, and that is why in every state where this issue has been on the ballot, in red and blue states both, the people of America have voted for freedom.
The two candidates also clashed over race and rally sizes.
I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you.
She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be there, and then showing them in a different light.
It lasted for around 90 minutes. This could be the first and last debate between Harris and Trump before the election on November 5th.
Security crimes, economic crimes.
Now let's get more insights on that presidential debate from a Filipino-American based in the U.S.
We have with us Irene Bueno, founding partner of government relations firm NVG, is joining us live via Zoom. Good morning.
Good morning and good evening here in Washington, D.C.
Yes,
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much for joining us. First off, what is your reaction to the debate? Who do you think pulled this off?
Well, it's no secret I'm wearing blue. I'm a Democrat and I'm a strong supporter of the Vice President. I think she did an excellent job. We can just go through all the different things that she accomplished. I think the important thing she needed to do is to introduce herself to the country. While she's been vice president for almost 4 years, some people don't really know her yet. So I think she had a chance to do that. At the same time, she had a chance to show that she has a temperament and also the knowledge and experience to be president of the United States starting in January. She also is able to talk about what she will do for this country, not talk about what's in it for her. She will have policy plans that she can put in place on day one. And at the same time, she can also go toe-to-toe with former President Trump, which shows her strength and her competence.
But what do you think were the strongest points of Harris from the recent debate?
Yes. Well, just when you went through those clips, there are just so many of them. I thought I had found one that I wanted to talk about, but there really, truly was so many of them. Of course, the one that I think it started her really being strong was talking about reproductive rights, which is something that is so important to her and personal to her. And as a mother of a 21-year-old daughter, I can't believe that my daughter has less rights over her body than I do at this time. So I think that is something that she talked about very strongly, very passionately, and made a very convincing argument. So I think that was one of her strongest points. But as I said, there were so many to talk about.
Now, Irene, this election is touted to be one of the closest in U.S. history. And we're talking about several key states, one of which is Pennsylvania. Now, do you think the Vice President addressed some of the issues that people from the state are wanting to hear in order to move that needle for a Democratic victory?
Yes, well, I don't live in Pennsylvania, but my daughter actually lives in Philadelphia and goes to college there. It's a big, diverse state. One of the points that she did talk about is about fracking, and she addressed that issue, I think, head on, that she does support fracking, which is important to the western part of Pennsylvania. But, you know, Pennsylvania has different parts, kind of more rural parts, but they also have Philadelphia, which is a big city that has issues. And she talked about things about that they care about, like home ownership. It's difficult to find homes. There's very low inventory. So she has a plan to address giving people help to get that down payment. For all the many students at the many colleges in Philadelphia, she supports having plans to help students afford education. So I think she did address the many issues that are impacting people in states like Pennsylvania. But we have to remember also, at least for the Filipino American community, we're around the country, but we're particularly large in the state of Nevada. And I think she has addressed many issues that Filipino Americans in Nevada care about.
It's good that you mentioned about Filipino Americans because what are the issues should be considered vital for Filipino Americans and immigrants?
Yeah, and I think Filipino Americans and all Americans care about things like the economy. I think that's why that was the first question that was addressed. And the economy's complicated, but she has a plan that she talks about, that opportunity economy, where she makes sure that people will have opportunities to start small businesses, to go to college, to afford a house, to have help for their children. $6,000 when kids are born, because we know kids are expensive. She recognizes growing up in an immigrant family, her parents are both immigrants, and in a middle-class family, how difficult life can be without just a little bit of a help to get you started. And look at where she's come in a generation, from her parents being immigrants to becoming the Vice President of the United States and possibly the first President of the United States.
Irene, I'd like to ask about the impact of the Filipino community in the U.S. on a possible Harris presidency. Who gains more from a higher turnout of voters, the Democrats or the Republicans?
Well, I think Filipino Americans, I think tend to be more Democratic, but this election is pretty unusual, so we can't take anything for granted. So I think that both the Democrats, both Kamala Harris and Trump, need to fight for the Filipino American vote. I mentioned one issue, economy is a big issue, but immigration, as you said earlier, is a big issue. And if you can just put side by side how they talk about immigrants, I think there's a stark difference. Vice President Kamala Harris, as an immigrant, coming from an immigrant family herself, recognizes how important immigrants are to this country and how much they contribute, especially Filipino Americans. We're nurses, we're educators, we're physicians, we're lawyers. We have so much to contribute, and she recognizes that and celebrates that. On the other hand, former President Trump, you hear how he talks about immigrants, that they're coming to our cities and committing terrible crimes. They're coming from insane asylums. And then last night, talking about, and we've heard this in the Filipino American community about, immigrants come to the communities and will eat dogs, and that is just a terrible thing to say about immigrants, but for him and his base, that is what calls to them, and I think it shows a sharp contrast between what kind of President Harris will be, as it impacts Filipino Americans and immigrants versus how President Trump has been and will be.
Kamala Harris actually has presented herself supposedly during the debate as an agent of change. And she reiterated that in her closing remarks. What can you say about her closing speech? A Trump supporter has actually said that it was actually just, rehearsed speech.
Well, I think that is, they don't have any notes. They do practice, of course, and you want our potential presidents to practice ahead of time and to be familiar with all the different issues that could come up. But what she talked about was something that I think might be rehearsed because she talks about it wherever she goes. How we need to just stop with this division and that we've been living with in the last decade. There's just these efforts to really split the American society apart and continue stoking the flames of hatred and just negativity. She wants to turn the page. We are exhausted. I am exhausted. We want to just live our lives and to work hard and to succeed and see our children grow up in a positive place. So we want to turn the page.
Right.
And let's look at some positive things that we can do together. And let's be that American society that my mom and dad came to this country to give to us, to our, to their children, the opportunities, and that's what we want. And I think that's what she was saying in her closing statement.
I guess finally, last question on my end. We have an information here that you were able to work with Harris at some point. Can you share us more of that to us?
Yeah. Well, we have a similar background. We both are from California, grew up in the Bay Area, and we both went to law school at the same time, same law school. I was a year ahead of her. We have spoken and connected since then, and we know we didn't, hang out in law school, but of course we had a very similar experience. We both went to law school because we wanted to make our American society better. She proceeded the route as being a prosecutor, attorney general, and of course, a senator and vice president. I took the route of going to Washington, D.C. and working in the White House and Congress to try to change policy. So when she came to Washington, one of the things that we have worked on together is that we realized that there needs to be more people that look like me and like the vice president who are in those positions of power, whether they're elected officials or appointed officials. So she has worked to support organizations that I support to speak on that, to encourage more Asian American, Filipino Americans to consider careers in public policy and to support them.
Irene, before I let you go, I'd like to ask this. I've seen several debates between Democrats as to what is the safest road to the White House. Now, there's a side of the Democrats that are saying that Vice President Harris has to throw President Joe Biden under the bus and detach from the current administration to ensure a victory. Now, what is your take on this issue?
I think people forget because so much had happened during the initial years of the President Biden's administration, but he accomplished so much along with Vice President Harris. Remember, we were coming out of the pandemic, and then they were able to pass so many pieces of legislation that, frankly, Washington has been struggling with. For example, the bipartisan infrastructure bill, which means finally our roads and bridges and all these things we've been trying to fix for decades. Finally, a bill had passed to get that done. We had a number of other bills, the Inflation Reduction Act, that really made changes to help people afford their prescription drugs and to help people in Medicare, support them in their later years in life. There were so many things that were accomplished. I can't think of all of them off the top of my head, but they really did so much. And I don't see the Vice President Harris running away from that. At the same time, she has her own ideas and thoughts about what to do as president. And I think that so you'll see some similarities, but also she will have some ideas of her own. And I think that is the approach that she's going to take. And I think that's the right thing to do. And I think that she will win.
All right. On that note, thank you so much for joining us today, Irene Bueno. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Alright.
Interesting discussion. We have a lot at stake kasi the Philippine nation with
Totoo.
regards to the
Siyempre
US
nga,
election this November.
Siyempre iniisip nila, di ba, what could the Harris presidency mean?
Or a Trump presidency.
Or
Harris
Trump
presidency.
presidency mean for the Philippines? Yan ang big concern, siyempre, ng mga Pilipino.
It would be nice to have a Republican naman. Let's see their thoughts.
Sa susunod na interview.
Yeah, sunod na interview. All right, don't go away because we're not done yet. May dalawa pa tayo. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching Brunch here on One News.
Let's move forward na to our countdown. Our third top story is the Porac POGO Hub. The raided POGO Hub in Pampanga has alleged a burial site where slain foreigners were buried. Presidential Anti-Organized Crime Commission or PAOC spokesperson Winston Castro said they received information about a supposed burial ground near Lucky South 99. PAOC spokesperson Winston Castro said this information is a proof that workers in POGO Hub were tortured or killed. PAOC will apply for a search warrant within the week so they can validate reports of the supposed burial grounds.
Ngayon, if proven...
Hindi na ako magtataka pa.
Hindi, pero if
Surprise.
proven may burial grounds nga, once they check it, you own...
Panibagong
supposedly,
kaso
ikaw may-ari ng lupa, di ba, ni Alice Guo. So, hindi niya alam na may naglilibing sa tabi pa ng City Hall?
Hindi na nga daw siya nung nag...
Asan ba to? Sa Porac ba to?
Nung ano
Bamban?
daw siya sa,
hindi. Porac.
Porac, Pampanga.
Porac to. Porac naman to.
Yan yung unang
Pero they're
raid
linked to
na
that,
ginawa na alala mo, yung ni-raid tapos nag-stop sila because pinigilan ng court.
Ng judge. Yung warrant nila. Oo.
So they have information nga daw na may mga
Grabe,
burial site dyan. Sabi ko nga kanina sa'yo, hindi na ako magugulat kasi nakita naman natin, di ba, may mga videos na nag-surface simula nung na-raid yan. Yung may mga tinotorture, tapos may torture chamber, di ba? Tapos meron tayo minsan na nababalitaan, di ba, na mga missing person, baka mamaya nandiyan pala yun, hindi natin alam. Pero sana makakuha sila talaga ng warrant so they can excavate and makita nila kung totoo nga itong allegations na ito.
Pero grabe ha, you have an incinerator, you have a hospital, you have a burial grounds within your Porac community. Parang it's very cultish already ang dating nitong community na to, di ba?
At walang alam yung government
May torture
officials
chamber ka pa.
na ganyan yung itsura nung, di ba, nung hub.
Tapos, yung mga nag-i-enforce pa ng batas sa illegal POGO sa loob, most of them daw, naka-uniform ng Chinese ng PLA. People's Liberation Army, di ba? With the red star and all. We have to validate kung
Parang
is this,
everyday,
namimeke ba sila with the uniform or may link ba talaga to sa Chinese Army?
Oo, tsaka everyday we uncover, 'di ba? Different
new issues,
different issues dito sa hub na to at somehow nako-connect ito dun sa mga several personalities na naririnig natin ang mga pangalan.
Well, sabi nga ng PAOK ni Winston, this is just a tip of the iceberg.
Exactly.
As we are getting to file cases against those involved, kay Cassandra Ong, Sheila, and kay Wesley, kay Alice, makikita natin little by little. Ano ba sila? Mga ugat lang ba ito? Or meron pang bigger fish?
Kaya nga sabi ko nga, di ba, I remember when we were interviewing Yusek ng DOJ dito si Nicholas T. I forgot to ask him kung ano yung ginagawa naman ng DOJ when it comes to running after the father. Kasi parang based dun sa mga kwento kung pagbabasihan natin yung kwento na mga nire-release na mga statements din nila sa Senate hearing nitong nila, yung mga resource person, yung tatay yung parang kumukumpas. Diba? So, maigi siguro makakuha tayo ng impormasyon mula mismo dun sa tatay. Pero hindi din natin alam, diba? Alright, sige. I think karugtong to nung top 3 natin, itong top 2 mo, Diego.
Alright, let's move on. On our second spot, the Justice Department wants Alice Guo to be placed under the custody of the Immigration Bureau. DOJ Secretary Boying Rimulya explained that Guo is considered an illegal alien due to her fake passport. With this, she could face a deportation case aside from graft charges.
Trying to become or trying to pass herself off as a Filipino, I think that's a very major major violation of law within our country. It's really an immigration matter.
According to Remulla, Guo cannot post bail over violation of immigration law. She is currently being held by the police, but the Senate is also requesting for her custody.
Kung meron talagang dapat didetain kay Alice Guo, it should be the Bureau of Immigration. Kasi, ano yan an immigration case takes precedence over everything
But we also have to take a look at criminal cases. For example, if we can establish a strong link that si Alice Guo is part and parcel of the POGOs, and now meron kang burial ground, may incinerator ko, those are parang multiple murders na yan Can we link her to these multiple murders? So may murder case ka. That should be over and above an immigration kasi loss of life ang
Pero
nangyari.
kasi ngayon, as of now, ang arrest warrant lang na nakapatong sa ulo, di ba, supposedly ni Alice Guo, yung sa Senate, and of course yung sa Capas Tarlac.
Yeah.
Diba? Kaya yun ang pinag-uusapan nila. And yung ibang mga cases na final sa kanya, we are still waiting for the resolution of the court. Para alam natin kung ano yung magiging next na galaw.
Pero this is a good move on, idea ni Secretary SOJ. It's because this case sa immigration, non-bailable. May fear of bail kasi sa ibang cases na pwedeng temporarily makalabas si Alice Guo. Baka flight risk to
Actually nga, di ba, ang naging parang nakita ko naging strategy nila Go dyan, yung meron siya biglang arrest warrant sa Capas Tarlac, ayaw nila mag-bail. Because supposedly ayaw niya talaga umattend ng Senate hearing. Pero humingi ng permiso ang Senate, nagbigyan naman sila, kaya naka-attend siya ng Senate hearing. Pero may sinasabi nga si former Senator Ping Lacson na meron siyang from a source, reliable source, na nag-o-offer nga daw ng bribe itong si Alice Guo to someone na worth 1 billion pesos. Diba? Para ayusin daw yung mga kaso niya.
Well, she has 28 billion.
Dami niyang pera.
Ano ba ang 1 billion sa kanya? Mali.
Pero di ba, naka-freeze na ba yung assets niya?
Yeah, kahit naman naka-freeze yung declared assets that are linked to the POGOs and to her personal account.
May mga kabang-kaban niya
But
sa
alam
gilid.
mo, if she is part of these criminal syndicate operations, itong mga criminal, they don't put all their money in a bank. May cash yan sa vault.
Sa vault, no? May mga, yun nga, may mga,
Di ba paano daw, tinanong siya ni Senator Jinggoy at Senator Joel Villanueva, paano siya nagbayad ng mga kwarto? At saka yung mga trip nila, cash daw. Paano binayaran yun sa boat? Cash daw.
Kaya nga. Mahaba-haba pa tong saga na to ni Alice Guo, kaya nga, where should Alice go? Okay. From Alice Guo, punta na tayo sa isa pang mainit na usapin. Our top story for today is Pastor Apollo Quiboloy. The Philippine National Police, or PNP, reported that some members of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ, or KOJC, accused the pastor of abusing them. Here's the report.
During the intense 2-week manhunt operation in the Kingdom of Jesus Christ compound in Davao City, the Philippine National Police, or PNP, met some of the megachurch's members. They accused their leader, Pastor Apollo Quiboloy, of abusing them. PNP Chief Police General Romel Marbil said that some of the alleged victims were members of the so-called Inner Circle Pastorals. This circle has female minors who were abused by Quiboloy. Marbil said the youngest member of this circle is a 12-year-old girl. The PNP said the victims narrated how Quiboloy manipulated and abused them.
We are now in the process of coordinating with the SWDs because accordingly, some of the parents of those abused children were the ones who approached our police officer there. At ngayon nga po, we are now in the process of documenting those allegedly additional victims of Pastor Quiboloy po.
Marbil said this is just the start of the PNP's investigation of the pieces of evidence filed against Quiboloy. In a text message to News 5, Quiboloy's lawyer, Attorney Israeli Totorion, said he could not comment on this issue yet. He reminded the PNP that character assassination is not part of their duty. That is why he is expecting fairness and professionalism from them amid the new allegations against Quiboloy. The Doomsday Preacher will attend a hearing at the Pasig Regional Trial Court on Friday morning for his qualified human trafficking case. The PNP is considering asking the court to hold the arraignment online. They are anticipating the, quote, security nightmare once Quiboloy goes out of Camp Crame to attend the hearing. For News 5, Gerard de la Peña, we are One News.
May nagsabi si Quiboloy daw pwede daw kung bigyan na ng access to exercise, pwede daw mag-practice ng 3 points niya. Baka mawala daw yung 3 points niya
Kala ko.
Kasi 3-pointer si Apollo Quiboloy di ba? 139 points
Talaga ba? I don't
22
care.
triples. No, I'm saying.
I don't care.
Didn't you hear the sarcasm?
I know. I'm just telling you lang din.
You're out of order. Nakakagigil ka na
Nagpapakit ka ba? Nagpapakit ka ba?
Pakit ka eh.
Ikaw talaga. Pero hindi ha.
Hindi ganun yun.
Paano ba?
Angel, ikaw talaga.
Kadiri.
Good, effective
No, pero going back kay Pastor Apollo Quiboloy, they're also asking kasi nga kung pwede pa siya mag-preach. Kasi we all know naman, leader siya ng KOJC.
Mag-preach siya na naka-handcuff tsaka naka-orange.
Bawal. Pwede siyang umattend ng prayer pero bawal siya mag-preach. Yun ang sinabi ng
Alam mo bakit?
Bakit?
Papa, don't preach.
Pero di ba naalala mo during yung search operations ng pulis sa KOJC compound, may mga na-discover sila supposedly baka biktima daw ng human trafficking.
Yeah.
Pero later on recant sila.
No, that was one. But sabi naman ng PNP, meron pa silang several na lumapit na magulang sa kanila that they have documented and they haven't released this information yet. They are verifying and vetting the reports, and kung it turns out na credible naman yung kwento, then possibly additional cases or isasama nila sa current cases. They will see pa. Kasi siyempre they have to vet all this information. May mga lumalapit pero hindi natin alam kung credible daw for them. So, yun.
Ayan, kasi naalala mo nung pumunta ako sa PNP sa Krame, yung presko ng DILG tsaka ng PNP chief regarding sa pagkahuli at pag-surrender nito ni Pastor Apollo Quiboloy, ay nakatakip yung mukha niya. Diba? As in, super takip na takip. Iba naka-mask lang, siya naka-mask na, naka-sombrero pa, at naka-salamin. So, a lot of people, actually, kami din from media people, ay sinasabi, talaga ba siya yan? Diba? So, tapos may mga lumabas na mga mugshot niya, pero blurred. Kasi supposedly, ang PNP meron silang guidelines regarding that. Pero si DILG Secretary, sabi niya, nag-post siya ng isang araw, di ba? No one is above the law. At nakalagay dun sa post niya yung clear photo ng mugshot nitong sila Pastor Apollo Quiboloy and his other four accused. So ayan, nakikita natin
Keep mo, from branded jackets, shirts, and belts, expensive glasses, di ba?
Tumaba siya actually, in
ngayon,
hiding.
You're
yung chan niya.
You're wearing orange and naka-handcuff ka and you're in a mugshot. Truly a humbling experience in life yung mga ganito. Siguro that's why if ever, he kinda siguro requested na magsalamin siya at pa-blur yung face niya. Diba? But, yun
no one is above the law. Si Alice Guo nga, nakita din natin, diba, na nakalabas din yung kanyang mugshot, clear.
And yes, tumaba si Apollo Quiboloy because yung previous shots na pinakita sa kanya, walang tiyan. Dito, pinakita nila.
Siguro
di sila naniwala.
Hindi siya nakakapag-exercise.
Hindi siya nakapag 3 points. Oo.
Hindi kaya sabi, siya ba talaga yan? Laki ng tiyan.
Okay ka ba tiyan?
Oo.
Alright. Thank you for... Nagalit si Direk sa joke ko. Pero thank you guys for joining us today. Madami naman tayo na pag-uusapan. And of course, it's a Thursday.
Sarap ng pansit.
Thursday brunch. Nagigigil na si Angel kumain. So with that, I'd like to leave you with a quote. Keep smiling and one day, life will get tired of upsetting you.
Yun, no?
A quote from someone. And that wraps up today's episode of Brunch.
Join us again tomorrow. I'm Angela Lagunzad-Castro. And he is Angelo Castro III. We are One News. All sides, all the time.